pleased.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What do you think? Mm-hmm.
You can have one of those.
Clerk? Good. Apologize for a couple of minutes there. I had to take care of my name and I got back to here and we had some information for a presentation here later. At this time, call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave. Vining. Germaini.
Here.
Lamore. Felder. Whitman. Mayor Clark.
Present. I'll ask you all please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guide us in our deliberations and discussions this evening. May our efforts promote the good of the residents of this city and all who visit.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, first item, please.
First item is approval of regular agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu?
No changes request, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm looking at council. Seeing none.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
More support by Councilwoman Stelgrave to approve the regular agenda. Clerk, please call the roll.
Grave?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is the consent agenda, and item A, the approval of payments should read $1,151,735.67, 1151735.67.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? Items on the consent agenda. Councilman Councilman Viney? 3896. Councilman Felder?
Yes, items 3887 and 3886.
Other item on the consent agenda, council wishes to have pulled for further discussion. Is there any items on the consent agenda, those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Any items on the consent agenda from those present? Seeing none, motion will be in order. Councilman Felder?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion that all items on the consent agenda not pulled for further discussion be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Lamore, that all items on the consent agenda not pulled for further discussion be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
And I just
I'm
want to
sorry. Go, please.
confirm, because these aren't in numerical order on the page, I want to make sure I caught them all.
Yes.
So we pulled item 3876, 3896, and 3887.
3896, 3887, 3886.
3886. So 3886, 3896, and 3887? Okay. Thank you.
Then go on to the consent agenda.
Correct.
All right, very good.
All right. I'm ready to call the roll. Councilperson Steelgrave? Yes. Vining?
Yes.
Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item on the agenda is under presentations, communications, and public hearings. It's item 3903, the Opportunity Center at ALCC 2023 First Quarterly Report.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu?
We have Stephanie Kasperzak with MCOP. We have the quarterly report, but I think she's got a couple updates to provide council as well, so.
Thank you for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm Stephanie Kasperzak from MCOP and the Opportunity Center. First and foremost, you all received our quarterly report, and I didn't want to spend too much time on that unless somebody has any questions. But I did pass out some really exciting information that we have coming down the pipeline. So I want to focus on the future for a minute, if that's okay. You have it in the packet in front of you. It's been my goal for 3 years since we've been at the center to do a weekly listing of events of all the great things that we have going on in terms of our activities. So the first piece of information, we actually, now that Nikki Eiler is part of our staff, Nikki put together this list of activities. She puts it out every 2 weeks for both the Opportunity Center and MCOP, so everybody in the community can know what's going on a daily basis. So I was just really happy about that, and hopefully all of you are following our Facebook page so you can see it. It's tagged right on our Facebook page so you can get all the great information. So I wanted to point that out. In addition to that, this week we're so excited. Jeffrey Vienier is one of our boxers, part of Todd Riggs and his boxing program, and he's going to nationals this week. So that was really exciting. We had 2 boxers who were in regionals. Jeffrey won, and he's moving on to nationals, and they're heading out this week. So we're really excited. So, root for Jeffrey if you can, and we'll let everybody know how that goes. I'm also really excited, and this is why I had to come tonight, because there's so many great things going on at the center. That's why we say that there's always something happening at the center. As many of you know, in this room, when Big Brothers Big Sisters left, I was a lunch buddy. I love Big Brothers Big Sisters. It left a gap in our community for mentors. And people have been stepping forward as they can to fill that gap. And this past year, we received a grant for the Adolescent Community Center from the Community Mental Health Partnership so that we hired 2 full-time mentors at the Opportunity Center. And they've been creating a curriculum and working, and we're starting Mentor Monroe in the next couple of months. They've been developing a curriculum where we're going to have formal mentorships. We're going to have 3 full-time staff dedicated to girls and boys mentoring. And we're really going to make a huge effort to fill that gap that was left by Big Brothers Big Sisters. So I'm really excited because we've been growing a partnership with Monroe Middle School with doing some vaping prevention. And through that partnership, we're now working with the middle school to take the kids who are expelled. They're going to have a study hall at the Opportunity Center. They're going to go through our substance use programs. They're going to be at the center so that we can advocate and mentor them in hopes of getting them back in school next year. So this is just the beginning. We're starting at the middle school. We've built a great relationship with the middle school. We're hoping to expand after that. But it was so excited, I had to come and let you guys know that we're starting to work on that. We also have our 2nd annual women's conference. So for women and men in the room, this is the most inspiring day of the year. Last year, it was absolutely amazing. We opened up with 250 spots. We have 100 filled already. So you can see the lineup here. It's a power-packed lineup of women who are coming for the women's conference. It's March 25th at the Opportunity Center. But you got to sign up quick because it is filling up fast. And then finally, as part of your packet, we just put out last week a free volleyball clinic for girls, ages 6 to 13. It filled up overnight. I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of noise about the Opportunity Center and all the great things going on. Finally, as you know, I'm the Monroe County the chairperson of the Monroe County Network on Homelessness. You all have an agreement with us to provide rental assistance here in the city of Monroe. So I wanted to make sure that I reported on that as well. It's not part of the quarterly report, but we do report to the city on a regular basis that through the grant, through Community Development Block Grant, we were able to keep 123 people in their homes with a roof over their head with the help from the city of Monroe and that partnership agreement. But there has been a lot of discussion lately that is somewhat negative about MCOP and the Network on Homelessness and how little we support the homeless in our community. And I want to make sure that I very quickly, I'm not going to stand up here for too long, but I want to set the record straight on what an impact the network has on our community. So not only through the city grant with CDBG, we were able to keep 123 people with a roof over their head. MCOP during COVID was able to work with all of our local shelters, each and every one of them. And then if there was a COVID outbreak, or if they needed to have people test for COVID before they could go into shelter and they needed a week's stay, we provided hotel stays to the tune of $234,000 so that all of our local shelters could keep their congregate sites safe during COVID-19. Not only that, but I personally dropped off PPE on a regular basis to all of our shelters to make sure that they had the supplies and the equipment that they needed during the pandemic. And even more, I want to shout out to our great staff because we had $10 million that came to MCOP for eviction prevention so that we could stop the tsunami of people becoming homeless by keeping them in their home during the pandemic. And we spent $10 million, and we helped 3,542 people stay in their home during the global pandemic so they wouldn't become evicted and they wouldn't overburden our community. There's no way our community would have been able to handle that with the shelter beds that we have. That was our contribution during COVID-19. So I wanted to take just a minute to let people know that because, as you know, there's been a lot of discussion about Oak's shelter closing. And let me be the first person to say that I do not want that to happen. Oaks has played a critical part in our community by having a warming shelter so people don't freeze on the streets in the winter. That's why when they said there's a mental health problem going on, there was a group of individuals that got together with community mental health. And many of you are in this room. Deb Stillgrave has been part of the committee. Chad has been part of the committee. I've been part of the committee representing the Monroe County Network on Homelessness. And we've been working with community mental health to provide solutions to this issue. I've been working with homeless people for 30 years. My first job out of college, I worked in a domestic violence shelter, so I know how hard shelter work is. We've been working for months to address the mental health crisis and the substance abuse crisis. We have some productive solutions that are going to be coming out. We have some great things coming down the pipeline. But finally, I just wanted to let you all know as City Council that as part of the Monroe County Network on Homelessness and as the chair of the Monroe County Network on Homelessness is our providers will do what they need to do to make sure that the homeless population is taken care of. If it's not enough and February 17th comes and people are put out, we will make sure that they have a place to stay. And those talks are already in the works. So I just wanted to let you all know that. I wanted to set the record straight on a few things and make sure that everybody was clear. But with that, does anybody have questions for me about the quarterly report, all the great things coming up at the Opportunity Center, or our homeless initiatives? Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for the quarterly report and information. I do appreciate it. I see what I always hear, there's something, I like the headline here is, or the header of your report, there's always something happening.
Yeah.
I think that's true all across Monroe and clearly at the Opportunity Center.
Yep. Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you guys very much.
The next item is under
Sorry, next item, please.
The next item is under council action. It's item 3895, Lake Erie Transportation Commission millage renewal proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Pastu.
Thank you, Your Honor. You have before you a request from Lake Erie Transportation regarding a millage renewal to be placed on the May 2nd election. In the audience, we have Mark Jagosinski and Joe Liebig with LETC if you have any questions, but it's a renewal of the 1 mill levy, and as Mark reminded me, they've never levied the 1 mill, so it's but needs council authorization to put it on the ballot for this upcoming May.
I want to see if Mr. Jagodinski has anything to say, or Mr. Liebig, just for a minute. If you have anything you want to say to the council before we take action. Obviously, it's up for a renewal, and maybe what that means and how that is might be
I'm
informational
Mark
for everybody.
Jagosinski, General Manager, Lake Erie Transit. I'm here with the Chairman of the Board, Lake Erie Transit, Joe Liebig. I think the only comment is just to reiterate what Vince said, is that we've not been in a position where we had to levy the full 1 mill. In fact, we look at next year being a situation where, because of some CARES Act money that we have, that we probably will only levy close to 0.65 of that 1 mill. But the reason we asked for the 1 mill is because we just don't know what it's going to be in 2 or 3 years from now. So we like to have that buffer in place, but I think we've shown over the years that if we don't need it, we don't ask for it. So that's all I want to say, unless there's questions.
Very good, thanks. Don't see any questions. So we'll need a motion and a second, and then I know Councilwoman Germaine will have a comment.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Lake Erie Transportation Commission millage renewal proposal for the May 2nd, 2023 election cycle.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Felder, on item 3895 of the Lake Erie Transportation Commission millage renewal proposal. Councilwoman Germaine, I know you have a
Your
comment.
Honor. I would like the council's permission to abstain from this vote. Since I am employed with Lake Erie Transit, I think it's the right thing to do.
So I'll look to council. I don't see any opposition, but Councilman Felder?
I'd like to make a motion to allow Councilwoman Germaine to abstain from this vote.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Lamore to regarding Councilwoman Germaine abstaining from this item. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave?
Yes.
Vining? Yes. Germaine?
Abstain.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Yes. Mayor Clark?
Yes. So now we have the item that's have a motion from Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Felder. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave? Yes. Vining? Yes. Germaine?
Abstain.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Yes. Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3890, 2023 Water Main and Street Paving Program Bid Award.
Mr. Pastu?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to have Mr. Lewis do the introduction for this item.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, welcome.
Evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Patrick Lewis, Director of Engineering and Public Services. I guess I've got the next three up here, but the first one on the docket is the 2023 Water Main and Street Paving Program Bid Award. We are continuing to accelerate our bidding schedule here, so we're trying to get these contracts bid in the fall or early winter and get those awarded as quickly as we can, because we know with the contractor market being what it is, we want to get out and get early. So I'm happy to report we came in just a little bit under our estimate, so that's good, especially in this market. We do have 6 different locations under this. 5 of the 6 have both water main work and street construction work, and the 6th location just has street work alone. Represents about a little over a mile and a quarter of streets and not quite a mile of water main. And we took bids on this. Got many of the usual contractors. We had 3 bids: Salem Bean Trucking and Excavating, ER Zeiler Excavating, and GV Cement partnered with a new underground company. They were last year's street paving program contractor. So we had three solid bids from 3 good contractors. The low bid was from Salem Bean Trucking and Excavating from Dundee. They are, as you know, a responsible bidder. We're coming back up on that cycle where they need to renew after 12 months, but they were certified after this time last year, so they're still good. They're using 2 subcontractors that would fall under the or over the $50,000 subcontractor threshold. Those are GM and Sons on the concrete paving portion of the project. They've been pre-qualified, and Gherkin Paving, the asphalt paving side of things, they have not yet been pre-qualified. We expect their submission any time. I have a very strong feeling that they will be pre-qualified, and if for some reason they don't, there's also a subcontractor bid from Cadillac Asphalt who has been pre-qualified. So we will not have a problem with the project team here either way, but I will report out when Gherkin does get pre-qualified. They are a large union contractor, but they're based out of Ohio, so that's why they haven't submitted yet. We've told them they need to as a condition of award, so we'll get that taken care of. The locations we have, in case you wanted to know a little bit about them, they are in your fact sheet. We decided this year it would make sense to package everything together because it's very difficult to stage utility work and then have a pause while we have a second contractor come in. So we thought, especially given where you're going to hear where some of these projects are, coordination and timeliness is important. The largest piece, and there's actually three of them that are kind of tied together, Washington Street from 3rd to 8th, 5th Street from Monroe to Scott, and 7th Street from Monroe to Washington are all intersect with each other. The time, of course, is critical on Washington Street in front of Monroe Middle School, not to mention St. John's Elementary School as well. So we have talked to the school ahead of time. They're amenable to the waiting until school lets out in June to start the water main work in front of the school, and they can tolerate some of the asphalt resurfacing in front if we schedule it off school hours. We don't know whether we can get everything done in 10 weeks or not, but we're going to do our best. So that's the critical part why we want to have this under one contract. The long-awaited, so in addition to those three, the long-awaited East Willow project will be occurring with this. We finally got the design completed on that one. That was more of a challenge than we anticipated. So, and then Arbor Avenue from Linwood to Orchard is another one. We heard from a lot of those residents last year because we were doing Riverview one block over. And then what I'll call our project that was delayed from last year, which we're still trying to figure out what the timeline is on this. We're going to steer the contractor away from any festivals that we can, but that is reconstruction of 1st Street from LaRanger Square through the intersection of Macomb. So it's going to be about a 500-foot long project that's going to feel like a lot bigger than that. So we've waited long enough. We delayed this one because we were working on the City Hall parking lot and East 2nd Street last year, and that was just way too much chaos in addition to finishing up the Lake Erie Transit portion of the building. So now we have to do 1st Street. There is a water main to be replaced in there, and we're going to be doing a full gut of the pavement. That'll be brand new concrete with curbs. We are looking at the decorative stamped concrete in the square to replace the bricks because it's very unlikely we would be able to salvage enough of the bricks because of the traffic that's been on them for 40 plus years since they've been exposed. So we are retaining the diagonal cross pattern at the same dimensions that you've seen. So it'll sort of split that up into 4 quadrants. So we're going to kind of try to keep the same look the best we can. But as you might guess, between a water main contract and tear out, that's going to be fairly lengthy. I'm guessing at least a couple of months on that. So we will be working with Lake Erie Transit to reroute buses. We're going to try to keep that as minimal as possible, but there's nothing I can do. I can't make this project happen in a week. So we'll do the best we can. So anyway, I've probably already gone on too long that you wanted, but it's a pretty important project, and with the size of it, this does represent the bulk of our street projects and water main projects this year, with one exception, that being North Macomb Street, which we're doing as part of a federal aid project. So that has to be bid separately. So, Mr. Pastor, did I miss anything?
I think you covered more than what I would have expected. No. Yeah, we're just asking you for approval of it, but I think it's good to have an overview of what the scope of the projects were.
Yes, Your Honor. Director Lewis, if we or a member of the public would like to view the pre-qualification submissions that have been submitted to your office in advance of these contracts, how would they go about accessing them? Do they just contact your office and request
Just send
the
me an
forms?
email. Yeah, there's not a repository. We put them online there. I've got a list of the bidders too that have been pre-qualified. I can easily send all that out.
Gotcha.
Be
Thank you,
happy
sir.
to do it.
Other questions? If not, a motion would be in order. Councilman Felder.
I'd like to move that a contract for the 2023 water main and street paving program be awarded to Saladin Trucking and Excavating in the amount of $3,589,913.25, and that a total of $3.95 million be encumbered to include a 10% contingency, that mayor and clerk treasurer be authorized to execute the contracts on behalf of the city, and that the director of finance be authorized to set up any necessary accounts, make any necessary budget amendments across the accounts or the various fund reserves and/or balances, and to appropriate funds to the correct fiscal year.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilwoman Germaine on item 3890, the 2023 Water Main and Street Paving Program Bid Award. No further comments. Clerk, please call the roll.
Grave?
Yes.
Vining? Germaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Whitman? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3898, recommendation to upgrade US 24 and 7th Street intersection to mast arm traffic signals.
During the work session, we discussed this item of committing 40,000, up to 40,000 for the cities toward the 7th Street telegraph mast arm signal, with the understanding that Monroe Charter Township would be contributing an equal amount as well. So we're asking for authority to go forward with that.
Thank you. If there's any comments, if not, Councilman Lamore.
That the city council authorize the director of engineering and public services to commit up to $40,000 in funding on the city's behalf to MDOT for the purpose of upgrading the intersection of US 24 and 7th Street to mast arm traffic signals as part of their upcoming project.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilman Stillgrave on item 3898, recommendation regarding the location on the mast arm traffic signals. Clerk, please call the roll.
Grave? Vining? Germaine? Lamore? Felder? Whitman? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is 3894, authorization to submit carbon reduction program grant for streetlight conversion to LEDs.
Your Honor, I'm going to have Mr. Lewis do the intro for this item.
All right.
Great. Mr.
All right,
Lewis.
again, Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm happy to report we found what I think could be a very, very beneficial grant project. We can submit for this anytime through Friday, and we will be doing that first thing in the morning if you approve of said grant. We're bringing this to you because the local share of this is over our purchasing authority. There will be other grant documents you'll need to execute, but before we submitted it, we wanted to pass this along to you. A little bit of background: about 10 years ago, we went through and did about 500 streetlights that were the mercury vapor, which were more inefficient, I would say, than the current high-pressure sodium that you have. So those 500 or so were converted to LEDs. And that was done through our CDBG program because we were able to use those funds for the capital investment, and we recoup the benefit from the energy savings. And I will say our lighting costs are about what they were 10 years ago, partially because of that program that we were able to save. Now things tick upwards in a 10-year period, but the fact that we upgraded those lenses made a big difference. We've now been aware of a program through I always get the name of the federal bill, but it's basically the federal infrastructure law that has a carbon reduction program component to it. This is the first year that I'm aware of that they've included municipal street lighting as an eligible activity. And this one was a no-brainer. We started looking at the numbers on this one. We have about just under 1,100 streetlights remaining that are the high-pressure sodium out of our total inventory of about 1,600. And the capital costs from DT, which basically did all the work on the grant for us, we have to submit very straightforward forms. Capital costs about $310,000, and we'd be responsible for 20% of that. So it is a reimbursement grant, so we'll have to front the money until the work is done by DTE, who is going to do all the work. But I will say the estimated energy savings is about $82,000 per year. So our payback period is 9 months. I think that's a pretty good deal. And then that's savings that we'll see every year. So this is about as big a no-brainer as I have ever come across in my days here. So I would highly recommend that the council authorize us to submit for this grant before Friday.
Any questions for Mr. Lewis and submitting for the
I
grant?
have one.
Councilwoman Germaine.
Patrick, what is the life expectancy of these new grade of bulbs versus the old grade, do you know?
That's a good question, and don't take this as flippant. We don't care because DTE has to replace them. So I don't care if it's a year or 100. But generally speaking, I believe that the life expectancy is longer. There's less maintenance, which is one of the reasons why our costs are less, because DTE bakes that into their cost structure. So I don't really know, because there's been a lot of advances in LED technology that what the answer I would have given you 5 years ago would be different than it is today. So honestly, we didn't dig that deep into it because, again, as I say, DT is fully responsible for that, and that's how we get billed. But it's a very good question, but I don't know the answer.
Okay, that's fine.
Councilman Viney?
So Patrick, I know we're all about savings here, but I was just at a presentation recently and they were speaking about how LED lights emit an excessive amount of radiation. And so, do you know anything about that? And especially since you want to put 1,000 of them all across the city, um, do you know anything about that? Can you talk about the safety aspects? Are they emitting more radiation than the other forms of lighting?
Well, I don't know that I'm qualified to speak to that. I guess I don't have a good answer because I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I know. But my belief is that these would not be approved by the Michigan Public Service Commission for use in municipal street lighting systems if there was a danger to the public. That's my belief, but I can't cite any statistics or facts to back that up.
Okay. And I don't know either. That's why I was asking you, did you know? So
Not, I
I'm gonna look
apologize.
into it further though. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Questions for Mr. Lewis? Councilwoman Germaine?
Thank you, Your Honor. Make a motion to accept item 3894, authorization to submit carbon reduction program grant for streetlight conversion to LEDs. Move that the City Council authorize the Engineering and Public Services Department to submit a grant application on behalf of the City of Monroe for the conversion of approximately 1,074 streetlights to LED fixtures through the carbon reduction program, and to authorize the Director of Finance and allocate the city's share of funding from the General Fund, Capital Projects Fund, or street funds as deemed appropriate.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Germaine, supported by Councilman Lamore, on item 3894, the authorization to submit a carbon reduction program grant for street light conversion to LEDs. Clerk, please call the roll.
Grave? Vining? Jermaine? Lamore? Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Mayor Clark?
So next item, please.
All right, so the next item was pulled from the consent agenda. Item 3896, authorized purchase of parking pay station for City Hall parking lot.
Councilwoman Vining?
Okay, I know we discussed this a bit at the work session, but I just wanted to get an understanding how this parking meter works and how do we inform the public? Because I guess I wasn't aware that everyone who pulls into that parking lot is supposed to use that meter. I'm used to, like, in Ann Arbor, they'll have one at almost every parking station. So I don't even know how that works or how the rest of the public will know.
Sure, and I think we talked a little bit about signage, and I think the coming in the lot, there's a sign, but then the station is at the end of the parking lot where entrances toward either the city or county building, but and I'm looking at Ms. Pastu, but I also know in some areas I go to, they have them at the end of the block, so you park in a street and you go to the one end or the other. But there's a variety of ways to do that. Mr. Pastu?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just for context, if you recall, you had a parking meter for each space right in front of it historically. And again, as the mayor indicated, rather than put those back in similarly, as we had before when we redid the parking lot, we went to this dedicated pay station. And similar to what you have in other communities, they'll have it in a location that is either at the end of a lot or spaced a certain amount. In our case, there's two destinations, either the entrance to the county building or the entrance to City Hall. So it's located that you walk right past it. And I think if those are folks that are familiar with it, then they'll recognize that they need to put some money in there. We'll evaluate the signage coming in that there is to pay with that. But historically, we've always had it. And we thought this would be, rather than put the old type of meters back in, that this would be better to have a pay station that serves the entire lot at a location where the vast majority of people will be passing by.
Thank you. So during business hours, just like when we had the meters,
Mm-hmm.
you'll go up and pay. Can you pay with debit or is it a cash machine?
No, I think you can debit, cash, and eventually we'll have the app, pay app, that'll go along with it as well, so.
So they can use their card.
Okay.
They can use a card to pay.
So with the app, once we get the app, you think like, cause like if I have a meeting with the mayor, okay, it's supposed to be 1 hour, it'll be an hour and a half. So I just have to validate. So will I be able to go into that app and?
It's my understanding that you would be able to fill it from the app, you know,
Okay, great.
to put, instead of having to run out and put money in the meter, you'd be able to use the app on your phone to put additional money in if you needed it.
And is there anything currently on the website, or will we add that?
I think we're going to be adding it. I don't recall if you know, this project was spearheaded by someone else, so I don't have all of the details in my head. But we were in kind of a wait and see period while we were testing the equipment, and now we'll be able to finish the training on it, work on the signage, and really implement it in full.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that the public is aware. And I just to allay some of your fears, obviously, people who come into City Hall that aren't sure about it or frustrated by the whole situation, you know, we work with them in the clerk's office and make sure that they understand it, and obviously we don't unfairly punish anyone because they don't understand it. You know, we help them out. So we have that little bit of a grace period as well. It has been amazing, though, just to calm any concerns. The number of people, as I think I mentioned in the work session, we put it in and we were being trained on it, and they pulled up the computer program, and he said, "Oh, you've already got 3 people who've paid at the station." I said, "What do you mean? We just put it in." So there's been definitely some acceptance by it demonstrated by the quick response. But again, we're working with everyone, and the traffic enforcement, those staff are also very good about working with the public and making sure they understand.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I just hadn't personally used it.
Yeah.
Or
I haven't used it either,
know
so
that I
I
was supposed to use it.
understand. Yeah.
So I mostly park on Macomb, so I didn't know if it was fully active or what. But I do think it's a good idea, though. It's nice looking too. So
Other comments? It's up for council action.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to authorize purchase of parking meter station from Traffic and Safety Control Systems in the amount of $11,155 for the City Hall parking lot, and authorize the Assistant City Manager, Finance Director to transfer the funding from the general fund contingency.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Germaine on item 3896, the authorization to purchase parking pay station for City Hall parking lot. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave? Yes. Vining? Yes. Germaine? Yes. Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Yes. Whitman? Yes. Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please. I'm sorry, next item.
The next item, which also came from the consent agenda, is item 3887, River Raisin Heritage Corridor Master Plan Update Distribution.
Thank you. Councilman Felder.
Yes, I would just like to request a brief update on both of these items, along with information on how and where the residents can be able to make their comments and how they will be contacted. I know that we've seen these items before, but just as a final review for everyone here and at home of what these plans are, how they're being implemented into the master plan, and then what the comment period is going to look like, and how residents can avail themselves of that process.
Yeah, excellent. And we had a conversation during our work session about this our special meeting before this, and those may be able to see it there, but also here as well. Mr. Pastu?
Again, I think both the plans have been presented to both City Council and the Citizens Planning Commission. The process involves, they are posted, the plans on our website, and when we issue the notice, assuming a council accepts the plans and the Planning Commission goes forth with it, there will be a public notice related to the comment period where not only just the surrounding jurisdictions, but the general public can comment on those as well. I think they actually had a comment period too with the public hearing for both of them with the Planning Commission. But again, this is another opportunity before it's adopted into the master plan to hold another public hearing before its adoption going forward. But certainly they'll be posted on the website, and I think we may have to even do a publication of that notice as well.
Councilman?
It's just information for the public is all. I'm happy to make a motion can I accept both of them together?
No, because we
I have
pulled
to
them
do them
separate. We should
independently.
bring them back up.
I would
Thank you.
make a motion that item 3886, motion to accept the Orchard East Sub-Area Plan approved distribution of the documents and begin a 63-day comment period.
We're on item 3887.
Well,
The numbers, as we know, as we said at our our special meeting, the numbers get changed as they
messing
come
me up.
through, so they're not necessarily in order. So I think Councilman Feller's going to remake his motion for the other one, and then we'll get to the second one.
in that case, on item 3887, I'd like to motion to officially accept the River Raisin Heritage Corridor Master Plan update, approve distribution of the documents, and begin a 63-day comment period.
Second.
Councilman Feller, supported by Councilman Moore, item 3887, the River Raisin Heritage Corridor Master Plan update distribution. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave? Yes. Vining?
Yes.
Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Clerk, next item.
The next item is item 3886, Orchard East Sub-Area Plan Distribution.
Councilman Felder.
At this point, would it be prudent then to accept item 3886 and make a motion to accept the Orchard East Sub-Area Plan, approve distribution of the documents, and begin a 63-day comment period?
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilwoman Germaine on item 3886, the Orchard East Sub-Area Plan distribution. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave?
Yes.
Vining? Yes. Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Mayor Clark?
Yes.
I have no further items
No
this
further
evening.
items. It's council comments. It is February. Councilwoman Stillgrave, comments this evening.
Only comment I have is Thursday night downtown Monroe. The different businesses are involved. It's the Flamingo Night, basically for women shopping with your friends and that. A lot of the local businesses will be open late, and they have specials. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Vining.
So on the Kentucky wall that Councilperson Lamore brought up, did we say we're gonna send out communication to the railroads about that? What did we say we were gonna do? I'm sorry.
I think the gist I'm catching is concerned regarding the structural integrity of the wall itself. And Mr. Lewis and I actually talked a little bit about it. We'll put something to that effect, asking them to review that, given the concerns that have been expressed at the council and in the community, and then await for their reply to it, preferably if they had some engineering analysis talking about it's structurally safe.
Do they own the wall?
It's not ours.
Because I know we've been talking about it crumbling for at least 10, maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
And it also came out in the Orchard East sub-area report. So I was just wondering
Something related to that in there as well. It's
Yeah.
just,
if the wall actually crumbled, what are we gonna do? Just let it crumble, or are we gonna fix it?
well, I think they actually had a collapse one time, did they not, Patrick?
See, they came and put those bands up there at some point.
Yeah, I'll rehash a little bit of the comments that Councilman Lamore and I had and Mr. Pastor. Yeah, we've actually seen segments. It's almost like it's two pieces of wall. They've got a bottom pour and a top pour because you can see a joint in there. Portions of the top pour have fallen over before. I think I have pictures of when they fell over. I think they stopped the train, put the piece back up, drilled bolts through it with some steel bands and tied it back together. We believe that is fully their responsibility, fully their property. The Kentucky Avenue right-of-way is really strange because the road right-of-way doesn't exist on a plat. We claim it as ours, but the railroad by federal statute has 25 feet of property that they claim as right-of-way. So we essentially have overlapping jurisdiction, but the wall, being that it's for their track, would be their responsibility. And that's the way we feel it is. But just because it's their property doesn't mean that it's not our problem. So I think that's why I think it's very appropriate that we continue down this path, and Mr. Pastu and I will assemble how best to do that. So anyway, I just want to clarify a couple of those things. But yes, it has happened before, and we're just worried that it might happen when a train is going by. So
Yeah.
that's all I have. Thank you.
So the other thing, Your Honor, So as Stephanie, Ms. Kasparek brought up about the problem we have with homelessness in our city, I'm sure in the county, in the entire United States, but we all know what's been going on social media and other things here in the city. We haven't addressed it as a council, and I didn't expect that it would be addressed through the Opportunity Center quarterly report. But since it has been addressed, and we have so many members of the, several members of the administration and council who sit on those boards where we want to talk about how we tackle this problem, I'm proposing that it be an item that we add at a work session or a special meeting because it is an issue, and the shelter that is under the threat of closing is in the city limits. Thankfully, the city has supported that shelter in several ways. The bathrooms, the CBGD funds that the shelter received. So we know that as a city and as a council, we have tried to contribute to that to help homeless people. I just wanted to clarify, Oaks may be on the list as a warming shelter, but it is a low barrier shelter that operates 24/7. So it's not just on cold days, of course, you know that. But the Opportunity Center is also a warming shelter. So it's a full family shelter. I should not say family shelter because they take men, women, and children. It's also low barrier and operates 24/7. So it's much more than a warming shelter. But eventually, I know we talked about developing a housing plan within the city. We haven't gotten to that yet. The mental health crisis in the city right now, the substance abuse crisis, and the homelessness crisis all ties together. Um, thank you, MCOP Stephanie, for the work that you all have done. But we all know that if a person can't qualify, you know, it's rough. So we do, really need to be thinking of some ways outside of the box that we can help people as well as what your organization currently does. And so I think as a council, we should be discussing all these issues. We've contributed to help these issues, but we haven't spoken publicly about the issues. And I'm not talking about arguments between people, but I'm talking about a plan for the future. What are we going to do? Because it's not getting better, it's getting worse. So I'd like for us to be able to discuss it as a council. So
I'm looking at the city manager, item for discussion on a work session. I guess is what is being asked, and I see he wrote the notes down. Something that can come forward. I think there's a lot of discussion and information that we probably should have as a council. And we know that some of the service needs are being asked are through the Monroe County resources and funds. And I know that those have been, are being addressed through the Monroe County, whether it be Community Health Department or Monroe Community Health as well. But there are other items within Substance Abuse Coalition as well, which is a larger organization in the city. So that, we have a shelter, and we have other locations within the city that provide housing and support. And while they're independent, they're still here in our community. But there's opportunities. I think that Mr. Cochran said about funding opportunities that we have done. You've identified a couple that we have supported with the Oaks. But I think there's a large conversation we can have. So Mr. Pastu will look at the calendar coming forward. I know that he has some items planned at the next meeting. I'm not sure what his volume of that is, but I'm sure he'll be sending out an information here shortly about our work sessions, as he's done in the past, of our planning as we go week by week, or meeting month by month that he puts forward. So, okay. Yes, go ahead.
I may add, And that's been one of the questions that I had, Mr. City Manager. And I know you've worked in other cities. How much responsibility do we have as a city? You know, as an administration, I know we don't own a city shelter, and I don't know that the county owns a homeless shelter. Um, and that's a question I've been pondering, is how much responsibility do we have as a city to address it as a unit, not just individual, those of us who are already, you know, putting in the work, but as a city administration and council.
You know, as you raised the question, I was thinking how I would respond if we have a work session, and I think generally one of the things we would look at are the agencies that are involved with responding to many of the factors associated with homelessness. But I will tell you, cities are not very well. Not many of them are engaged in that, other than kind of on the periphery of providing some minor support, much like what we have done. The agencies that are typically involved with it are going to be at the county and the state level. They have the resources. They also have the professional expertise to handle a lot of these type of issues. And so, as we said, just our limited engagement with it in the past has not really been directed toward the service, but some of the support aspects of it, whether it's the shelter itself from a physical standpoint with our building department and/or just additional CDBG funds that can qualify for that type of service. But clearly at the county, state level, with mental health and public health will be the primary ones, as well as very common to have a countywide agency such as MCOP actually be a significant driver in coordinating that, and as well as many of the other nonprofit foundations that provide support services in the community. So, part of it is I would, it's just as you asked the question, how would I lay that out? Here's the responsibilities, and again, they have within there the professional expertise to handle many of those type of things.
Thanks, Councilwoman. I just follow up, and we chat about this because our CDBG funds, and we've talked about how we expend those, and there's some I won't say restrictions, there's guidelines on how they're made available. Those are federal funds that come through, so we're kind of the pass-through of having the funds. And Mr. Cochran mentioned at our special meeting about, putting out the call for those that want to submit and make application for those, and then from that's when the funds get sent out as those that qualify through the application that they're submitting. And then, of course, we account for that. So we report back to HUD with our funding. So I'll look forward to the date as Mr. Pastor goes forward. Thank you. No, go ahead.
You just put another question in my mind.
Sure.
When you responded. Any updates on the library, Mark?
Actually, we're on my agenda for the staff meeting to organize to get everybody back together again, and give everybody an update that's been on the committee.
Okay,
So we'll have something soon.
thank you.
I'm glad you brought up, because Councilwoman and I at our last meeting had a very brief conversation afterwards. I knew the timeline of how that goes through, who's kind of moving it down the track, so to speak, and it's kind of coming back to us. But I know there's some updates that the administration wants to provide council to see where we go next. So I'm glad you brought that up. Councilwoman Germaini.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to offer my condolences to the family of Florine Mental, who passed away this last week. She was a pillar in our community, a teacher, a learning bank. I think she was at almost all the meetings at Lake Erie Transit when she was able to come to the board meetings. 4-H, any event in the city or county, she was always present, and she's going to be sorely missed. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman Lamore.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just going back to the Norfolk Southern situation at the east side there, just wanted to make sure when we do send some sort of correspondence, we're going to send it to all of our federal, state officials as well as the railroad. Sure. And also, I'd like to see if I can get an update on anything going on with the old Lazy Boy area.
Well, there's a lot going on with that. We can, give you an update, particularly with the infrastructure work. Again, if you keep in mind, most of that is going to be completed here by the end of July, is it? Yeah. Even sooner, so. And then I know that the developer is working on some infill development with some prospective tenants to come in there along with that. So that's a very high level, but the infrastructure is moving forward. It's pretty much going to be done by midsummer here. So
Thank you, that's all I have.
Councilman Felder.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Honor, first of all. Where to start? So the comments of Councilwoman Vining, I think she brings up a good point about the need for a discussion on housing within our community and on this board. I know that we had a special meeting last Monday to discuss some upcoming planning and financial issues that the city's going to have to deal with. As an outcome of that, I would hope that we would schedule a goals and objectives midpoint update, seeing as it's the beginning of the year again. Housing, of course, is one of the major objectives that the council took upon itself to address 1 year ago at this point, that we've made, I think, no serious headway on at this point in time. So I think spending some time with that item. I don't know that we're going to be able to knock it out in a work session in an hour and a half discussion. I think there's probably a longer Saturday or off Monday session that probably needs to be scheduled to address that. But I think it's something that probably needs to happen. But I'd like a review session of all the goals and objectives items as a beginning of the year update, first and foremost. But I'll let the city manager respond if he so chooses.
I can, I'll email what I handed out, I think at the last meeting, just an update on where we were with a number of the items in the goals and objectives. But clearly, there's a couple of them we can talk a little bit further about where we're at. And a couple of them, significant items have made some progress here in the last month or so. So I can give you the update and try and schedule that when you have. But, related to the housing, though, it's... it depends on what level of detail you want to go into it. You can spend quite a bit of time talking about it, as well as some other opportunities that may be out there. We hit on the Mason Run recently with that, and the prospective developer that Mark was talking about, he was telling me they got some ideas that they've submitted to him just recently. So there's some things we can talk about related to that, and that would be a big chunk of your potential development in areas that have not been developed yet. And so, but we'll try and schedule something. When I get to my piece, I got an item for the next meeting that may take up all your work session. So you're right, it may end up being an off Monday to get there if we have to.
I'll let the rest of council speak for the rest of council, but in my view, that this is an item I wouldn't mind spending a lot of time on, and that I would expect that would be appropriate. Given the seriousness of the discussion and the role in which I think that housing has to play in the growth of our community. I think in a lot of ways we're going to be capped without re-exploring either new development projects or how we utilize the existing space that we have, because we all know the space constraints that we have to work with within the city. I'm sure that those development considerations are at the top of the administration's mind. Moving on, Councilwoman Germaini brings up another passing in our community of Florine Mantell as a former school board member, historic society and museum supporter, and generally just an active community member. It's always sad to see the people who play an active part in our community pass on, and I think that they should receive the recognition that they deserve, and that their volunteerism has promoted and supported among the different initiatives that they've been a part of throughout their time. So it's important to do that. And then finally, some upcoming events happening in the community. with a number of different partners. I think council will remember, certainly the mayor will remember the Discover the Underground Railroad project that the RCA took upon itself, and the mayor was gracious enough to write a letter of support for that grant application, which then was awarded and now has evolved into an 11-part event series. The vast majority of the events to celebrate Black History Month are free and open to the public. The partners include Monroe County Community College, Monroe County Historical Museum, Monroe County Historical Society, the Michigan Municipal League Foundation, of which the city is a member, the Monroe County Library System, the Book Nook, many other businesses in the downtown corridor. There's just a lot of events going on. I urge the public to avail themselves of that, and just take a look at the calendar and the itinerary of what events are upcoming. So, thank you, sir. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman? Councilwoman Whitman has no comments. I have a few, and I'll start by saying that, Councilman Feller, I appreciate you bringing the information up. I have a whole list of things, those 11 different locations that you can, during Black History Month, that you can participate and take stock of the information and the presentations. I know that the one that Councilman Felder was talking about is going to be at the RCA on February 18th. That's one of the few that actually is a cost item. It's a one lady show that's going to present about Harriet Tubman. But there's the blues series, the big gig. There's all these items. The Opportunity Center, I know, is doing video, and it's in that handout we received on their update, having people come in and speak to historic figures within the Black History Month that is important to share and record. But you can find it at all the locations that the councilman said, the partners with the RCA, the community college, and so on their web pages. They're there. I know the county radio is putting out those information dates. Monroe News ran an article today that listed all those in displays from art to shows to speakers. I know that prior to the RCA, that Mr. Hall and his artwork is going to be also sharing about Black history as well. So please take the opportunity throughout the month, and actually some of them are going to be held at the beginning in March as well. Appointment. We had an appointment this evening. I want to thank council for the support of the appointments. I know that Andrew, year of this term. Regarding housing, there's much discussion. I know that even today there was a release out of the state of Michigan from the governor's office regarding we should take the opportunity to make sure that we build in those, because I'm optimistic that we'll get interest to come back and do that in this market. And as was mentioned, Mr. Cochran's been approached by different people that are looking for large parcels of land for housing projects, as well as the discussion at the Mason Run and how do we move forward with that. And that's going to take a little more work with the plan book. MML has been a supporter of providing information, as have others. So I look forward to the discussion so we can develop the housing opportunities as they present themselves. That's what I have this evening. Clerk Treasurer Lavoie.
I just have one comment. With the passage of the Lake Erie proposal to be placed on the agenda, we now have a May election in the city of Monroe. So clerk's office will be rapidly kicked into gear, and we will begin to be communicating with the voters. There have been numerous changes since the last election was held in November due to the passage of a proposal in November of what year was that? 22. So that's going to take some working through. The rules have not all been set, but I will keep council and the voters apprised of the rules, of the laws, et cetera, all of the things that have to happen pretty much in the next I mean, I don't want to scare anybody, but they really need to happen in the next 48 hours, really, but that's not going to happen. So, in the next month or so, to make sure that we can adequately place a May election in front of the voters. So I'll just keep you posted on that, but we will have a May election. So I'm looking for election chairs. More on that later.
Very good. Before I go to the city manager, Mark Jagodinsky, of course, is here from the Lake Erie Transit, and our representative, Mr. Joe Libick, who is the chair of the board. I just want to thank you for being here and for speaking briefly. And a reminder, everybody, this is a renewal that will be on the ballot. It's something that is very important to our community. I think we have a great partnership with Lake Erie Transit. That's how we got the station developed here, so that those that use and need to use transit and aren't standing out there here in the last couple of days in the cold waiting for the next bus or trying to time when that bus is. They have the displays. It's modernized. It's comfortable. Facilities are available. So I want to just say thanks again. So we've talked about that before, but thanks to get that project pulled forward, and that's an accomplishment I think is beneficial to the entire community. And sometimes those that may have the least ability to have transit or vehicles or assistance to get to where they need to go, the Lake Erie Transit provides that service. And we'll continue to look how we provide that service and look forward to the partnership. So for the residents, I hope they keep those things in mind as that comes forward for their consideration. Mr. Pastu?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just the one item tonight is just to ask City Council to schedule your work session for Tuesday, the 21st, as a special meeting. That way, council can go into closed session to review applications received for the city manager position. The applicants under the Michigan Open Meetings Act can request confidentiality until the point in which public disclosure is required, and that will typically be when candidates for interviews have been announced. And so the review would take place in a closed session. Dr. Everly would, lead that review with City Council. I'll keep my nose out of it. I'll be up in my office waiting for the regular meeting. But I would like council to make a motion to schedule a special meeting for Tuesday, February 21st at 6 p.m. for the purpose of going into closed session to review city manager applications.
So you're looking for that this evening? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yep.
So I'll ask to see if there's any questions from council regarding what Mr. Pastu is proposing. Obviously, we have a work session before our regular meeting. He's looking to make it formal this evening with making that a special meeting. Any comments or any concerns before we take a motion? Councilman Felder?
Should we expect application materials to be disseminated prior to that meeting?
I'm not sure how we want to handle that, or if you want it presented, at that point. We can talk a little bit further about that, but you'll have information related to the candidates in a summary form, usually is what council gets at this first step. But
So these are the candidates that have submitted that are consideration, but not those that are selected yet for
Oh, that's
interview.
correct, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's why we are going the path we're going.
Right.
But I understand the idea, wanted to look, understand, but we'll have to, I guess we'll wait to hear on that, Councilman.
Closed session from the special meeting,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Well, for a special meeting,
to go into closed session.
the item to be a closed session to go for discussion regarding the city manager search position.
Right, rather than having to do this by means we usually do. We're all in the room tonight, so we just thought we would do it here and now.
Any other questions or comments? If not,
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we have a special meeting set for Tuesday, February 21st, 6 p.m. And in that special meeting, we'll have a closed session which will include information regarding the search for the city manager.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilman Stelgrave, to schedule the special meeting for Tuesday, February 21st, for the purpose of city manager position search. Very good. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave? Yes. Vining? Yes. Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Yes. Whitman? Yes. Mayor Clark?
Yes. Mr. Pestu?
Anything else, Your Honor?
Okay, next is citizens' comments. If there's, as we have here, every meeting, opportunity for comments from the citizens or those present here this evening, just be mindful of the rules of the chamber of 3 minutes, but at this time, we'll take any comments from those present here this evening. Yes, sir. And Ryan, your name and address or residence of jurisdiction. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Grasslow. I live on La Pleasance Road. I'm gonna make it quick. I know it's been a long night for you guys. I just would like East 7th between Monroe and Washington to be looked at as getting some work done on it. As long as I've been driving, it's been in misrepair, and people don't even drive straight on the road. They weave to go around the big bumps that have been there for years, and I just would like it to be considered.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Pat,
If I may, Your Honor, just
Mr.
have
Lewis,
Mr.
you might
Lewis
have,
address
you might
that,
get your
yeah.
answer here right
Yeah.
immediately here.
It's pretty rare that we can grant something on the spot, but I'm happy to report that the city council approved the reconstruction of that block of 7th Street just a few moments ago. So it's included in that contract that we awarded this evening. So dreams do come true. So thank you, Councilman.
Thank
That's
you,
all I
Patrick.
have.
I didn't want to speak up because I know there was several cross streets along with Washington and I think 7th there, but I'll wait to get a later date. I appreciate that very much. Okay, with that, other comments from those present here this evening? Any comments from those present? Seeing no further comments.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Steelgrave?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Jermaine? Yes. Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Whitman? Mayor Clark?
Yes.